This is me, Twitter handle, some website with some good stuff, Framer code. So what are we going to look at today? So mostly it's animation based. See those hearts in the bottom there? Should kind of fly through, showing you how to make that, as well as some sprite animation stuff, and getting those into modules. So I don't know, looking at this I see a bunch of hearts. They're kind of waving back and forth, multiple colors. There's an animation up as well as an animation side to side, and a scale as well. So I see, like in Framer, I don't believe you can do a transition up at the same time, sliding back and forth without like having them tied to the same time. So this morning afternoon, I put this together. First of all, I guess I'm going to show you kind of how simple it is to bring pings and things like that into Framer. I found this sweet Periscope of this guy smoking a hookah, so I'm going to bring that in. And drop that right here. And we're gonna all like it. So the first thing I started with was this heart icon, and I just kind of did a bunch of guessing on it. I didn't spend too much time, but I'm basically using this purple heart, and only one of them. Bring that in. You can stop me at any time you see the upper left there. So let's see. And basically what I'm going to do is take this heart and copy it to make blue, pink, green, brown, etc. So just now I'm storing in a heart object, a bunch of different hearts. And let's see. I'm going to hide this one in the middle because we have basically just visible.false. And let's just bring in the blue one. And basically what I'm doing to change the color is using a couple methods that Framer gives you: hue, rotate, and saturate, to essentially change the color of that object in the middle. So it starts purple, rotate the hue a little bit, saturate the crap out of it, get something like that. Now that would be really a lot of code to do over and over and over. So what I ended up doing was just making a function to do this for me. And just all my hearts are hidden right now because they're copying, and copy like takes a layer and all of its sublayers, and like basically, as the words say right there, will have all the same properties as their copied counterparts, same position and looks. But because I made them the original not visible, it's going to hide all of them because they're copying the same settings. So that's why for right now, when I run this function, I'm setting them to true so I can show you guys. So let's see. Just commenting these back in. So we have our blue there. Pink. So I'm basically just applying these numbers that map to the heart, maps to this. The rotation, hue rotation, saturation maps to each of these three items right here. Green, brown. You get it. You get the idea, right? So what I'm going to do is just change all their colors, hide them all, because we don't really need them yet. but now I have all my assets. Instead of making a bunch of different pings, you can do it this way, you can do it. I thought of like 4 or 5 different ways I could approach this. I just thought I'd want to show the hue, rotation, saturation stuff. So remove this later. Now is the time to remove it. So essentially we want to start to take all those hearts I have and push them up the stream, right, from this location down here. So basically how I thought about this was basically making a layer that's this area and adding all these items as the sub layers. So the stream is the super layer. And essentially Framer gives you screen.width and screen.height as values you can use, and by measuring I just approximated what those were. So they're what do they do? They provide you a value that is the screen height or width. Okay, they do. So I'm just setting up some like, so I have a size object that stores my W and my H, which correspond to those, and then the same thing with the position, which is basically I'm taking the width of the screen minus, which would be all the way over, and then I'm saying minus the width of the layer I just made, so it brings the X back to right around here or so. And same with the height, I'm moving the height and moving it down, and then negative the height up, so it sits in the bottom. We'll see that basically I'm making a new layer here, and you see it getting drawn in. So basically the first thing, now that I have this path here that I'm going to use, this box, I want to make a layer that I'm going to start to float. It's a vertical float. And essentially I want to center it, right? So there's a way to do that: center X, center Y, center, but I want X. So it's basically saying, look at my super layer and center me inside of it. Like, instead of having to do the like, what is the width of it minus the half the, yeah, it's a lot easier. So I'm going to create this animation. Basically, you just specify, you start a new animation. I want the layer to be the vertical float layer, and I'm going to animate it to the Y, which is all the way at the top of its super layer, and the opacity will be 0, and the time 6 seconds, ease out. I didn't get too creative with, normally would, but too creative with my curves. And then basically I'm going to say, hey, let's move this over so a little more space. When I'm done with my animation, don't really need that heart around anymore, so let's just destroy it, because then otherwise eventually you'll have, you know, millions of hearts depending on how many people show up, right? So I start the animation that I created. Looks like that. Refresh. Show you that again. So great, that does part of the work. So then I'm going to work on the horizontal motion, floating side to side. Okay, so here I'm going, how big do I want this float layer? It's basically, I'm going all the way up here. Like, what's the size of my heart? Can anyone answer that? And I'm going to make it green just so we can see it. So again, why are you doing all this stuff? Basically, I'm setting up some properties for my animation, because basically I want to animate to the left, and when that's done, I want to animate back to the other side, and when that's done, I want to animate on and on and on until it's done with. So I'm essentially using utils, but not modulate. I'm using a random number, and I'm telling it between 5 and stream size dot width divided by 1.15 minus just some numbers okay, that seemed to work. Like stream size is this whole blue box, right? I want a little bit less than that because I don't want the hearts to fly out too far, but I also have to consider the width of the heart as well. So I'm subtracting that too, so it kind of keeps it within some range. We can mess with that later if it comes up. And then a little more clear example is for R, which is for rotate. I'm rotating between 2 degrees and 10 degrees. So it's going to pick any rotation for that animation I'm about to do to, I don't know, each one looked to me when I was watching the video looked unique. There was no consistency really. So the time is 1.5. The curve I'm using is ease in, ease out. So if you guys have questions, just stop me because I have a lot of stuff. So
I have a question. With
Sure.
random number, can you set like different, I don't know, like one random number of these 4, for example? Because here you're giving a range, right? From
there's random choice, which is like you give it an array. I actually do that.
Okay.
So basically I made a float left animation for the horizontal layer, which was that green one we don't see anymore. And I set the x to itself minus whatever my property was, this thing that happened up here. Then the rotation is equal to whatever this is. And the time is 1.5, curve is ease in, ease out. So that's what's happening here in time and curve. So same exact thing with float right, except you can see there's a plus, left was a minus, rotation was a minus, here it's positive. Okay, I was wondering why that thing stopped, and I'm like, oh yeah, it gets destroyed. Okay. So I found this, let's see, a couple weeks ago. Oh, my window's not big enough. Not that. And it was like alternate between 2 animations. Animation on, events, animation end, call to start when of animation B. Then when B on N, call A, over and over and over again. So right here, I'm basically doing exactly that, saying when float left ends, float right, start. Float right ends, float left, start. So here's random choice. I have float left animation, I have float right animation. Inside of it, I give it each of those objects, these animation objects. And it chooses one and says start. So you'll see, if you watch that green box, it floats to the right first. One of these times it'll go left. There it is, yay! Okay, so I also need a heart. I'm a tin man. And let's see, I'm going to start, adding these in, right? So, okay, this is a lot of code to do for every freaking heart, right? So the best way to approach this, in my opinion, is throw this in a function or a method. So I'm going to do that. It's going to go right here. I just have to do my indentation, and I'm calling it getRandomHeart. So if I call getRandomHeart, it should not fail. Oh, it doesn't know about it yet.
Yep.
Yeah, I didn't plan this part of it. Okay, we know that works because I dropped it in there. But undo, we did notice that we didn't even see the heart, right? That's not cool. So basically, I have this new heart. It, again, random choice. I give it, remember these objects I created way up here, blue, pink, whatever. I say random choice, you pick between any of these in the array. And then I'm going to make a copy of it. And then I take that copy, which is stored in new heart, add it as a sublayer of my horizontal float layer, which is the one that's going like this, which is also inside of the one that's going upwards, which is also inside of that blue square. I want to see it, so let's make it visible. Center it. A couple other things in there. So I'll refresh. Should get a blue, refresh, get an orange, pink. You know your colors, so okay. Cool, that works. So then it was like, okay, how do I basically emit all these things? I'll emit. So basically, I'm just writing a function called show hearts. I'm also using random number here to give it a delay between each one, between 0 and 0.75 seconds, which gets applied here. I guess I could probably just do this if I wanted. But I was printing it, so that became a little weird. Oh wait, I'll leave this. So I'm going to call that get random heart. We'll see. Oh, no. I need to get this one out of here. This wasn't part of the script. We'll see it's doing a delay, right, of every, I don't know how many seconds down there at the bottom, point something. And because I have all that stuff, remember when I was refreshing, it was giving me all the different colors, different animations going up. I say get random heart, and it should just start throwing them up there. Now I could do like 0.15. It's like, whoa, it's like, yeah. So, you know, to clean stuff up, make a transparent background on these things. Let's see what else needs a transparent background. This guy. Our stream. Oh, do you see how they're getting clipped off the edge too? Like property clip false lets them. We should see a few go outside. Where is that stream? So much code. Yeah, thank you. So there's, let's see what else I need to do. Oh yeah, the animation, the scale animation. So in the video they were like small and they before they started floating up. That's the sound that goes with it. And let's see. Basically, I'm starting with the scale. So I applied it to the new heart. So I really have like 3 animations going on at once, right? The one that's floating up, the one that's calling this like side-by-side sequence over and over until it gets destroyed, and then the last one is going to be on the actual heart object itself, which is just to grow. We don't see any right now because we haven't changed the scale. So inside of this, different kind of way to animate. Like I tend to, unless I want to do something immediately, I will set up my animations like this, like an object, and just call a start, like I am right here on a random choice. But you know, just scaling up to 1 in 0.25 seconds, ease out, and then you get that type of animation. It's that easy. No. But I mean, it was like that took me like 2.5, 3 hours today just to. The biggest part was actually how do I make this heart, and then how do I show something cool with it. But you know, it was like SVG, or should I make a CSS one, or just do a ping, I guess. But because I haven't really used the, I think you were the one that turned me on to the like brightness, contrast stuff, and I was like, I should mess with some colors because that is most people don't touch those. So there's that. You know, to make this into a module would be super easy, really. Just get random heart. Like, I'm done with that code. I don't really need to see it anymore, right? So, just gonna cut that code out. This one was that. Oops. Never use those. What do we call it? Random. So if you go in here, they'll give you some examples already. You see, like, I wrote a function, and they say, hey, do export stub my function. So we'll, you know, I'm not sure, but I'm going to go with it. I didn't think, like, I could just make one, and it's like, hey, you want this? I was not expecting to see that in there. I thought it would be a blank file. I think so. Yes. So I'm calling it get. What was that? Random heart. Okay, let me think this through. So then it goes. Help me out here if I I want to include it, right? So I called it random heart. Require oh somewhere in here I missed one of the steps. Yeah, let me just make it consistent.
I often have to restart Framer when I create a
Really?
file.
Yeah, I don't want to start. Well, yeah, that's right. I can't find hard original. I would have to do a little more work to make that happen. I'll show you real quick. Well, what? Why is it all? I'll show you this guy. Basically made this.
So when's your theme coming out?
And then, yeah, eventually I was going to get to like,
So
I even had other moves we were going to add. So you can,
Yes.
but this stuff I will all post up later. I really want to add like a directional draggable like circle so you can like, you know, have them do the back kick. I can't do them, but you know, stuff like that.
Jordan, I think he spelled Coon wrong.
I don't even see it. Oh.
It's a joke about Ken.